Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Gaur Premanande Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Dvi Vrajakacharyastu Tarasattva Sri Simad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Skandiviti Founder Acharya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtana ki Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Nitai Golda Pibanamde. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki. Devotees have to leave at a certain time. Anyone who has to leave, they can leave any time. I won't feel offended if people walk out of my class. Anyways, I mean, it'll be not too long class. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Takshurandalitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Astapitam Jena Bhuddhare Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Palakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Dalita Sri Visakam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakasana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutiri Pranamami Hridiye Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patikanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantharaj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva, It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Mukham karoti vasalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from Sridham Mayapur. We're reading actually from Canto number 1, chapter 17, which is entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. Text number?
15.
15. So those of you can follow possibly, right? Canto 1, chapter 17, text number 15.
1:17:15.
Yes, 1:17:15. Anagasu Iha Bhuteshu Ya Agas Krin Nirankushaha Ahartasmi Bhujam Sakshad Amartyasyapi Sangadam Anagasviha Bhuteshu Ya Agas Krin Nirankusha Ahartasmi Bhujam Sakshad Amartyasyapi Sangadam Anagasviha Bhuteshu Ya Agas Krin Nirankushaha Ahartasmi Bhujam Sakshad Amartyasyapi Sangadam Anagasviha Bhuteshu Ya Agas Krin Nirankushaha Ahartasmi bhujam sakshad
Ahartasmi bhujam sakshat
amartasyapi sangadam
Amartasyapi sangadam.
Someone?
Anagasvaiha bhuteshu
Anagasvaiha bhuteshu
ya agaskrindirankushaha ahartasmi bhujam sakshat amartasyapi sangadam
Anagasvabhuteshu
Ahartasmi bhujam sakshat amartasyapi sangadam
Anagasviha bhuteshu yah agaskrina nirankushaha ahartasmi bhujam sakshat amartasyapi sangadam
Anagasvika bhuteshu ya agaskrindirankushaha ahartasmi bhujam sakshat amartasyapi sangadam.
Anagasuiha, to the offenseless, bhuteshu, living beings, yaha, the person, agaprit, commits offense, nirankushaha, upstart. Aharta asmi, I shall bring forth. Bhujam, arms. Sakshat, directly. Amartyasya api, even one who is a demigod. Saangadam, with decorations and armor. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. Kindly repeat after me. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. Purport. The denizens of the heavenly kingdom are called Amara, or deathless, due to their possessing a long span of life, far greater than that of the human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum 100-year duration of life, a span of life spreading over millions of years is certainly considered to be deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that on the Brahmaloka planet, the duration of one day is calculated to be 4,300,000 times 1,000 solar years. Similarly, in other heavenly planets, one day is calculated to be 6 months of this planet. And human being, the denizens are called deathless by imagination, although actually no one within the material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit, so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of a state executive head that the offender of the codes of God is always punished. Translation again: an upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. This section of the Bhagavatam is very interesting, very important as well. The whole first canto of the Bhagavatam, actually, Prabhupada explained that when he was writing the first canto, which he did, of course, in India, before going to the Western world, as we know, Srila Prabhupada was quote unquote preparing himself. He was already prepared, but he felt that if I can bring out the first canto of the Bhagavatam, then this is my weapon to challenge Maya. So, not knowing, because Prabhupada, as we know, he started to write in the early days, he was writing articles. Then one day, after many years of writing articles, we know he started his Back to Godhead magazine in what year?
1964.
Ah, yes. Just testing. Yes, 1944. And so he was writing articles, publishing in his magazine, Back to Godhead magazine. Then one day one person mentioned to him, actually you write very nice articles, why don't you write books? Then Prabhupada, yes. So, because books are, will stay for a longer time, more like standard. And wanting to carry out the orders of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to preach to the English-speaking world. So he felt, okay, if I can have the first canto, and because he, we could say, started writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, started to translate the Bhagavatam at a very advanced age, Prabhupada didn't know how long he would have to actually, he didn't know if he could complete. So therefore, Prabhupada explains, I purposely put in the first canto everything that is needed. So the first canto, of course all the cantos are potent, but I would say the first canto is especially potent. And especially because it's dealing with basic principles of dharma. Here it mentions about the codes. Dharma actually means codes of religion, codes of universal religious principles. Sometimes dharma is translated actually as law. In all the countries of the world there are different laws, civil laws, criminal laws, but those laws are man-made laws. Whereas in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita especially, and other Vedic literatures, like different dharma shastras, there are universal laws. Just like in the Bhagavatam it explains, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma, the codes, laws of God, they are perfect laws because they are created by the Lord. So they are universal laws, they are eternal laws. And when we are fortunate to come in contact with Vedic knowledge, which is giving us both spiritual knowledge as well as material knowledge. So in other words, there are codes, laws of God exist both in terms of spiritual codes and also material codes. So this is a very important concept to understand. Our acharyas and the Vedic literature speak of material swadharma, material systems which are based on laws. And if we go against these laws, just like in any country, although they are man-made laws, if we go beyond the speed limit, we get a ticket, we get fined. Whatever law we may break according to that particular country, then the idea of punishment, this is what is being discussed here. So laws are there to actually regulate and help individuals. Ultimately, both the spiritual laws and the material laws are there to help individuals actually ultimately progress on the path of self-realization. Because that is the primary goal and objective. So here, this particular chapter is describing, this is after the departure of Lord Krishna, after the battle of Kurukshetra, approximately 30 years after the battle of Kurukshetra is when Lord Krishna actually completed his pastimes in the material world, and that is when immediately when when Yudhishthira Maharaj came to know that the Lord has returned to his abode, he left, as we know, and before leaving he installed or he arranged for Parikshit Maharaj, his grandson, to actually take the responsibility of the kingdom. And this narration, for those who have read the first canto, is very important because it brings up the whole aspect of why is it, this is the beginning in Kali Yuga. Beginning of Kali Yuga is where those who are meant to be the most protected in society. There are 5 living entities mentioned in the Bhagavatam who are by nature dependent and therefore who are meant to be given protection. And these 5 living entities are meant to be given the most protection, beginning with cows, brahmanas, women, children, and elders. And by nature, elders means those who have, or anyone actually, not only elders, but those who have different diseases, people who are in this way more dependent, helpless. So the very beginning, the symptom begins actually when Parikshit Maharaj, while he was traveling, comes across a bull who is representing dharma and Mother Bhumi represented by Mother Cow. And he's totally shocked actually to see their condition, because some person disguised as a king, who is not a king, is beating them. That's totally unheard of at that time. And of course, those living entities who are meant to receive the most protection are the ones who are most exploited. This is how Kali Yuga is manifesting, and that will increase actually more and more. So this is underlying here some very nice purports in this chapter describing how any head of state, his first and most important duty and responsibility is to give protection, to give different types of protection, including, of course, physical protection. Monarchs or kings, because in the Vedic culture we have monarchy. Monarchy is actually described, and there's so many examples in the Bhagavatam, as the ideal form of governance. It is called, you're all from India, Danda Niti. Danda means, yeah. I don't have my danda here, but actually I have two dandas here. So danda means punishment. In the Vedic culture, because we are in the material world, people should know that if we transgress the laws of nature, we will be punished. How we will be punished? We will be punished by having to take another birth. Yeah, that's all of us have been punished because we are here in this body. To have a material body means to be punished, because automatically the four main problems of life cannot be avoided by anyone who reincarnates: birth, death, old age, and disease, isn't it? Yeah. So executive heads, that's why Vedic culture gives maximum importance and time as well to train individuals from very early life in these codes of religion and these basic principles of dharma. It means that actually no society can properly function without knowing and following these principles of dharma. And any society or any nation or executive head anywhere in the world who doesn't know about these principles of dharma cannot properly rule the citizens. And in the Vedic culture, citizens is not only people who are in the human body, but all living entities who take birth. That means all different animals, including aquatics, including trees, etc., plants. They're all considered as praja. That's why Prajapati, the king is Prajapati. He is meant to be like a father who cares nicely for the members of the family, beginning with the wife and then the children. So, in other words, we should know that, and this we find nicely described in the Bhagavatam, there's a whole system, there's a whole scientific system that is actually called varnashrama, dharma. It is directly connected with dharma, that is also based on eternal principles. Very important to understand this aspect of dharma. We could call it in two features. Spiritual feature, which is connected with the devotional activities, which is connected with understanding that we are eternal servants. Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. We are the eternal servants of the Lord. And there are specific activities, beginning with hearing and chanting, Sravanam, Kirtanam, etc. That's one side. That's not the complete. The complete picture needs to include our material reality. We are here in the material world. We have this material body. We cannot deny, we cannot neglect. We have to give proper attention, etc., to the material body. And there's a whole, it's all nicely, we don't have to invent anything. It's all nicely described actually in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So that's why Vedic culture, Vedic literature, Vedic knowledge is perfect and complete in that it is giving us through what is called Shruti and Smriti, the two main divisions of the Vedic literatures, all spiritual knowledge that we need and all material knowledge that we need. We simply have to give what is called oral reception. We have to hear on a regular basis. And therefore, that is why Srila Prabhupada, he himself introduced what many of you have possibly already taken up, what is called Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Bible, Bhakti Vedanta. These are especially dealing with the spiritual dimension of dharma. And Srila Prabhupada wanted that we also introduce the material dimension of dharma. Therefore, what did he say? You introduce systematic teaching through Varnashram College. That's why Varnashram College is like the spirit material dimension of what we should be learning. And that's all very nicely, very much in detail given. So, in other words, how to train someone who can actually become a qualified king like Parikshit Maharaj. We are very much, I think it's an understatement. I mean, it's totally lacking in society all over the world. We're not having what is meant to be the three natural leaders in society. Who are the three natural leaders in society? Actually, there are basically two types of people, very easy to understand. Those who are natural leaders and those who are meant to be natural followers. Not everybody can be a leader, right? There's that expression, too many cooks spoil the broth, or too many chiefs, not enough Indians. They have this. Means if everybody wants to be a leader, then it's not going to work. Generally, leaders are few. Especially nowadays in Kali Yuga, practically we don't have leaders. There's an acute shortage actually of leaders. Our society, our ISKCON society, is actually meant to train leaders. Of course, everyone who becomes a devotee, everyone who takes up the chanting of the holy name, simply because he knows so many things gradually as we practice Krishna consciousness, as we go on hearing, especially from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even we're not conscious of it, we learn so many things. I'm sure it happens to all of you, it happened to me also. It's like even after a relatively short time practicing Krishna consciousness, somehow we get an opportunity to start speaking to somebody and we find, we surprise ourselves, my God, I didn't realize, I could speak so much about Krishna consciousness. Means this knowledge gradually comes, and of course, as we progress and advance in spiritual life, then Krishna, sarva sachaham ridi sanidhisto mata smritir jnanam apohanancha. Krishna within the heart gives us knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So there's a whole, again, both on the spiritual as well as on the material level, everything is very nicely, very scientifically, very logically detailed, outlined. We simply have to agree to hear it. And the more we actually put into practice, then we ourselves become more and more in knowledge. So this chapter outlines the importance of dharma, of knowing these different codes of religiosity, and gradually, whenever possible, introducing, this knowledge and this understanding. Just like, I think most of you, this was quite recent news. Which state again? The Chief Minister introduced Bhagavad Gita mandatory reading and study in all the elementary schools. You know? You heard about this?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite significant. The idea is that it should actually be standard, because Bhagavad Gita is not only meant for a particular group of people, isn't it? Bhagavad Gita, like all the other Vedic literatures, they are universal codes of God. They teach us the universal codes, again, both on the spiritual level as well as on the material level. And this is very much the need of the hour. Prabhupada was speaking about this, 50 years ago when he was writing his purports on the Bhagavatam. And without this proper knowledge and understanding, then society cannot be properly organized. Our own lives cannot be properly organized, and therefore we will commit all kinds of mistakes, etc. So here it is being explained how Parikshit Maharaj is mentioning that even if somebody from the heavenly planets who is very powerful, generally powerful and living for a long time, I will punish even such persons who actually go against the principles of dharma. So this is the primary mission of the Lord. Dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. The Lord descends in the material world to teach about dharma and also to live according to the codes and the principles of dharma. So I will not give much more beyond this because for different reasons, but if there's any, we can take a few seconds if there's any comment or question on this.
I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding Parikshit Maharaj,
Yes.
When Kali take the shelter of his feet, he just forgave him and he didn't feel after this. So
Now you're jumping ahead. Anyway, okay.
related one question. So he thought Kali Yuga is a Krishna's wish and it has to come like that. He thought one point of time. So my question was, if any incident is happening in devotees, suppose we are going and facing in the regular lives, some things it comes like condemn, we have to condemn, but we are not able to condemn that particular position. How to handle that particular situation?
You mean how to deal with those who are not following dharma?
Not dharma, and at the same time, how to react with them. Suppose we are Vaishnavas,
Yes,
some
yes.
small reaction also they will treat like ISKCON devotees are behaving like this. They make us some activity to get anger and all. They will treat like next time these fellows are also normal people only. They are also doing and all. They will find out. And
I think, just maybe yesterday or the day before, someone was mentioning about one conversation. Prabhupada was visiting, who was telling this? Yeah, in the Bhagavatam class, just yesterday or the day before. I don't know if you were there, it was Gurnitai Prabhu or someone, or maybe Vishwadika Mataji. Prabhupada one time was visiting one Hanuman temple. Prabhupada would be invited to different places. That might have been, either before he went to the West or after. And so he started to glorify Hanumanji. And Prabhupada was making making the point that, people usually think that Vaishnavas are like very peaceful and, law-abiding. Of course, they are peaceful, law-abiding citizens. But like Hanumanji, if there's a need to actually defend, like he did, and even to become angry, then anger can also be utilized in Krishna service. And Prabhupada, on many occasions, would explain that the Vaishnava doesn't mean that he just sits quietly when someone goes against the principles of dharma, or it is there actually in the Shastra. If somebody breaks into your home, or sets fire in your home, or kidnaps your wife, or whatever, you just can't sit down and chant Hare Krishna. You have to act, and you can, now one has, the what is called the principles of Kala Desha Patra need to be always kept in the forefront according to time, place, and circumstance. In different countries there are laws, and if something is really going against the principles of dharma and also obvious, then we can and should report it actually to the local authorities. Obviously, we cannot take the laws as the expression goes. You can't take the law in your own hand. But it doesn't mean that we are, callous about things that are wrong, because there are so many principles, dharmic principles that are not, that exist today. It means people are in so many ways. So we have our means to correct, of course, primarily. 5,000 years ago, the Lord came and he actually took weapons, and the whole battle of Kurukshetra came about. In the process and the means by which we are meant, let's say, to utilize is given by Lord Chaitanya in terms of, especially, let's say, educating people. We are meant to destroy Maya in different ways, especially through proper education, proper knowledge, etc. In some situations, we may individually have to use force. But we have to be careful not to go beyond what is, let's say, established within society. And although there are many, for example, there are many laws enacted, or many various legislation in different countries that have been introduced, which are actually not in keeping with the principles of dharma. So we should, in different ways, try to educate those who are in leadership position to point out how these are actually detrimental and not good. Many such things are there. So it is primarily through the more we educate ourselves and others, the more also we set examples. That's why Srila Prabhupada, one of the, we could say, long-term goals and objectives was to re-establish ideal communities, and especially ideal, we can say, village communities, because Vedic culture is primarily a village-based culture. It is an agrarian culture where especially cows and land play a very important major role. The whole discussion here actually is connected with how cows and the cow and the bull are being mistreated and abused. So a major part of what we are meant to do as devotees is to teach by example, to teach in terms of bringing this knowledge. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave so much of importance to book distribution. That is one of the most important ways. Actually, the first phase, Prabhupada had a whole vision, a whole system, how to introduce, and it began. And wherever we go to some new place, it begins with introducing the transcendental sound vibration, because that is actually the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, and also to introduce these transcendental literatures, and then to systematically teach those, establish centers where we can teach those, and then this is meant to culminate and bring us to the fourth level, the four phases four movements, Prabhupada called them, which every devotee should know. Where are we going? Where are we supposed to? What is meant to be the end result? Any endeavor, there should be. It's part of sambandha, abhidaya, and prayojana. We have to end up somewhere. Where do we want to go? Of course, ultimately, we want to go back to Goloka. But meantime, there's also some intermediate, goals that we should be setting. So one of them is to actually, Prabhupada mentioned, one of the purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement is to bring a complete overhaul in society and to revert. He uses the word to revert. Revert means to come back to the standard system which is described in the Bhagavatam in terms of the varnas and ashramas. This is throughout the pages of the Bhagavatam. So by creating, reviving or protecting the existing villages, that's why village preaching is so important, then we will be able to set example of how we're meant to live and how the different living entities, we were mentioning those living entities that are meant to be the most protected, then we can, if we create such villages, we'll be able to demonstrate. Because like in cities, you practically cannot protect cows, isn't it? But a cow is like foundational in the Vedic culture. The whole problem actually began with cows not being protected. And that is, Prabhupada would mention, other persons have also indicated that we can test or understand the advancement of a country or civilization or leadership by how all the living entities, especially the cows, are treated, protected. The more they are protected, the more they are happy and satisfied. Then that's one of the various indications that it is in line with the principles of dharma. So we definitely have to be intelligent how we go about dealing with situations which are, and there are so many actually, isn't it? I mean, the whole modern civilization is totally very far removed from these principles of dharma, so we have to go about it intelligently, and we have to respect the different, let's say, norms or codes that are existing in different countries, although many of them are not in keeping with the principles of dharma, and we should try to educate people through various preaching avenues, etc. Yeah. So I think we need to bring this to a close for now. Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki, Sri Prabhupada ki.